on this issue.
Right.
And so if someone come and say, I'm going to do X, I'm going to build this line from here to here, and someone sees that happen.
But the irony is
They'll
that
be
for
popular.
things like gridlock, which when people talk about transportation, they're talking about getting stuck in traffic, basically. When they talk about that, when they talk about housing, there's so many issues there that a mayor really doesn't have much control over. I mean, how does a mayor fix gridlock? It's you can point to things that you've done to try and help, but realistically, the traffic's not going to be any better in 4 years, and that's what people are going to respond to.
I also think that the economy has yet to weigh in. I was interested in getting into the field this next week with poll because I think that we're going to find that people are nervous as can be about the whole economy, and I think that it's going to overtake transportation. We haven't really seen how it's going to happen, but that fright. I think that what people are looking for is they're going to be looking for some inspirational leadership that can indeed restore that sense of confidence. I think that what folks are looking for is they want a mayor in charge. They want someone that they can believe in. And I would also go so far as to say that by the end of this campaign, Paul Schell's going to look pretty good by comparison in terms of, I think that...
Well, I said, what is it, the person, the evil you know versus the one you don't, and there's a lot of uncertainty.
I think that we're going to think that things were better off than they initially might have seen.
That's a great point. I mean, and Job makes a point about that we had all this money coming into coffers, but it's really weird if you look at sort of the liberal values of Seattle, and you look at what a mayor's job is, and a mayor's job is to set the priorities of the city through the budget. Quite frankly, if most Seattleites were to go through the budget,
he did a good job.
Shell was great.
It's a good budget. Now, of course, he had a good economy going with him, but it's weird that here's a guy. You're right. Shell will look good because here's a guy who.
We haven't focused on
and he got
these two
22%.
people.
Right.
We've not focused, I think, effectively on, we've looked at the glass half empty for Paul Schell. I don't think that we've looked at the glass half full for either Mark Sidran or Greg Nichols. It's up to them to define themselves as something else besides not Paul Schell. I don't know if we were to ask the voters that you talked to today, what is it that these people offer that would make City Hall and the mayor's office better than Paul Schell's? Other than to say not Paul Schell, I'm not sure that they might be able to say, well, with Greg Nichols, the whole idea of sound transit, he's involved in it, but I don't know that the cost overruns are likely to be as equal as what he's done on that.
Nobody's giving Greg credits for his great work with sound transit. That's just a sign.
So that's where we're going. I have to tell you that I think that most people are going to, ironically, is that we may get to feel better about Paul Schell because he's not a contender, and that we will have to focus in on what are these guys going to bring to the table that's going to be actually better than what we had. We may see that.
One of the things that I think you can see in yesterday's results for mayor, with the Charlie Chong vote, with the various minor candidates, and with the fact that a lot of people didn't vote, I think there are a lot of people who thought all three candidates were dreadful.
Well, that's a perfect. Go ahead.
And now we've got two candidates who are dreadful, and you're going to have to choose among them. The other question is how many people are just going to stay away from the race entirely.
That's a perfect segue for some more comments that we got. We went out on the street and asked folks, what are your top 3 perceptions of some of the candidates? And gives us sort of a little bit of insight what's going through some of the voters' minds as they headed out. Here's what they had to say.
I'm going to go ahead and name some of the candidates, okay? When I name the candidates, if you can just give me the top perceptions that come into your head when I speak the candidate's name, that would be great, okay? So the first candidate, Paul Schell.
Paul Schell, he's done a wonderful job. Some changes that needs to be made, considering things that had happened in the past in our city. But overall, I think he's done a wonderful job.
Mark Sidran.
I really don't know too much about Mark. I would have to do some research and see.
He's a current Seattle City attorney. Okay. Greg Nichols.
Don't know who that is.
Omari Garrett.
Don't know who that is.
Okay. If I keep naming, you probably won't know, right?
Probably won't know.
I'd say Schell to you. What are your top 3 perceptions?
I'm not a big fan. That's about it.
When I say Sidran to you, what are your top? Give me top 3 perceptions if you can think of when I say Sidran.
From what I know, he cracks down on the homeless quite a bit, and it's not too people friendly.
Nichols.
Nichols, I don't know too much about.
Okay. Garrett.
Garrett, I'm a pretty big fan of. I think he stands up for a lot of what the community wants. He's got a pretty bad rep, in my opinion, from that whole incident with Shell. But, you know, that was pretty. If in fact he did that, it was pretty foolish. But, you know, I think he has a lot of good opinions on a lot of the other events.
How about Lee?
Lee, I don't know much about that guy. I think he brings a little more enjoyment and flavor into the whole race. I think a little more flavor that people need in this city. It's not. I wouldn't vote for him, but you know, I think it's good for and healthy for people to see that side of it, politics.
First candidate, Paul Shell.
Well, he's the current mayor, isn't he? And I have no objections of what he's done so far.
How about Mark Sidran?
I don't know much about him.
Greg Nichols?
Greg Nichols, him neither.
Omari Garrett?
Neither him either.
When I say Paul Shell, first things that pop into your mind.
Megaphone and just a poor mayor, really.
How about Mark Sidran?
I've heard a lot of bad things about him too, but like haven't seen him in action yet, so.
Another candidate is Greg Nichols. Any perception? Do you know him? Any perceptions
Not
about
really,
him?
no.
Don't know anything about Greg Nichols?
I don't think so.
Okay. There's Omari Garrett.
Don't know him
The
either.
man wielding the megaphone.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Paul Shell.
Oh, he's a bum.
Mark Sidran.
I don't know anything about him.
Greg Nichols.
No, know anything about him either.
Omari Garrett.
No.
First off, Paul Shell.
I think he's kind of beats around the bush and doesn't really know what he's doing myself.
Mark Sidran.
I think he kind of has an idea as to what he wants to do, but as far as what he's gonna do, he probably won't do as much as Paul Shell or the other guy.
Greg Nichols.
I've heard of him. I don't know much about him. I think he's kind of. They're all kind of the same to me. I mean, he's a little better as far as I'm concerned.
Paul Shell. What are your top three perceptions you have?
Top three? Well, mayor, former developer, and also businessman.
Mark Sidran.
City attorney, innovative, and good sense of humor.
Greg Nichols.
Greg Nichols, consul, king consul. Let's see, politician for the people.
WTO. I was going to say the same thing. WTO.
Anything else?
Police.
White hair.
Mark Sidran.
Uptight. Attorney.
Greg Nichols.
Inexperienced.
Likewise.
How about Omari Garrett?
I believe that he has a lot of blue collar support.
How about Richard Lee?
No knowledge.
Well, it seems like when it comes down to it, it's almost as if people are reduced to the caricatures of themselves that, you know, people glean from, you know, reading or what they see on TV. And I guess it's tough to kind of craft that message to reach the folks that you're trying to.
It's almost like the Mark Sidran TV commercials are, you know,
Full of
are a
masks.
reflection. Yeah, the sticks are a reflection of how people perceive political candidates. You know, that it's that elemental.
I was gonna say it's weird that WTO just came up once, which I think, you know, those two women said WTO when you heard Paul Shell, because I think all the polling and the people we write about this stuff, we're so obsessed that there's all these issues that everyone's keyed in on, and you saw WTO just once, so we're living in a.
And the same thing with Mark Sidran and the civility laws that you know a lot of people, particularly among progressives, assume that everybody knows who Mark Sidran is and people either love him or hate him. Most people don't know who he is still, and he's still he still has the capacity to craft the image that he wants to.
Greg Nichols clearly has the potential to craft an image because no one knows who he is.
On the other hand, he's been trying to do that for a year
and a half.
Right.
So that's either bad news for his campaigning abilities or good news because he's got a clean slate ahead of him. I don't know which it is.
It allows people to sort of craft the message that they're, that they want to hear, or glean the things that they want to hear out of the candidates.
And the frightening thing is that may or may not have anything to do with their actual policies and what they actually do once in office.
True.
I think what would be interesting is to see exactly what kind of teams they're assembling. No person who would be mayor will go alone. I think that it is fair to say that both these two candidates for mayor now will bring a new team to the 12th floor, and I think that that becomes part of what we should be looking at too in terms of who's the rest of the team here.
And one of the criticisms of Paul Schell was that he was a horrible manager in terms of the assistant mayors that he brought in terms of the constant turnover on the 12th floor. And that was part of the reason you had the broader perception that he was bumbling or incompetent or whatever. He didn't bring in people who set a clear direction, and he got things done that he wanted to get done, but he didn't put that perception out to the public that was happening.
As a voter, though, that's tough to figure out. How do you figure out what, if there's no slot for what type of manager are you going to be, if elected, and that's not really touched on.
There is for Sidran, because he's been a manager for 12 years, and he got into a great deal of trouble with a union that was trying to organize in his shop, and he got into legal trouble and a court ruling against him for that. With Greg Nichols, however, there's no managerial experience at all. He's been a legislator basically all his life.
And still no way of gauging. I mean, again, as you said when we were watching this, it gives you an idea of, we're very focused on the political ins and outs and movings and shakings and things like that. But for the average person on the street, they're not really as clued in. So for those folks who aren't as clued in, how do they decide that? How do they figure that out? I mean, I don't even know if you probably asked them what type of managerial experience do the candidates have. If they, we'd probably have a...
I think that's up to the candidates. I mean, I think if Mark Sidran comes out swinging on sound transit, whether or not the average voter has a lot of strong ideas right now about sound transit, if Mark Sidran's able to just tar Greg Nichols with mismanagement of this big project that was supposed to help things, $1 billion, $1 billion, $1 billion, then the voters are going to say, oh, Greg Nichols, he's that guy that the Mark Sidran TV commercials. So I think there's a potential to create the issues for the voters.
On the other hand, two things. Number one, Nichols' comeback to that, at least last night when he was being quoted, was, we've got to build it, we've got to do something. And that's a very powerful comeback because Sidran hasn't really said what he would do in a way that
More buses.
but
so
not
why doesn't he run for King County executive?
Yeah, exactly. That has nothing to do with what the mayor would do. So he hasn't really put forward a plan for what he would actually do. And Nichols can come back and say, I'm going to get things done. All Mark is doing is saying no, 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 and he doesn't recognize the realities of the problem.
Mark Sidran can come back and say, you haven't got things done. We have a gigantic...
And then, as Kathy mentioned before, the economy may supersede all of that.
So it's the one thing that, politics is always shifting sand, even when there isn't an earthquake. The thing is that what we have here is that life was one thing before the disaster. People were really in a kind of a state of constant cynicism and criticism, which is the nature of Seattleites anyways, to criticize, but be nice. And that what happens now is that after we've seen what happened with both the disasters of last week, where people are fearful, the law and order issues are going to come up there, that stability, a return to patterns, something that's going to be safer and less risky. That would speak in behalf of where we want to go pre last night, when the impacts of this 30,000 job cut is such that as opposed to spending money, people may be less sure of wanting to spend a lot of money on transportation solutions that are huge, sound transit included, when the scare of what's likely to face us in terms of this recession. To hear Gary Locke today actually say we're going into a recession, that was a frightening thing to hear. And that,
especially from Gary.
Yes, and that tells me, I agree with you, especially from Gary, who's very conservative in how he looks at such things.
For the snow, just so we had a nice, safe working area. So that took, I think we took out 3 dump trucks loaded full of snow before we could even start braking. About 4 hours into that leak, another leak came in, and that was out on Alki. And our first leak ended up being a 12-inch break. It was a vertical break on a 12-inch main. Well, actually, it wasn't a vertical. It ended up being a horizontal because the lead had blown out on the bottom, and it had blown out and been blowing against the pipe for so long, it finally cracked it. So here we are, it's a real deep hole. You know, nobody could get in and see it. We see the lead belt. We go plan A, all right, it's a lead joint. I run in, I get the caulking tools, the bell joint clamp, get back out there, and we're putting the shoring box in. We get down in the hole to get a closer look at it. All of a sudden, we had to go to plan B. So we had to run back in, get parts to cut in a piece. So that job lasted, I'm going to guess to say 10, 12 hours. You know, by the time we got stuff backfilled and everything. Customers were still opening their businesses. There was like a restaurant, tavern type of place, and they were very understanding, very nice, very supportive. I think a lot of it had to do with the snow. You know, everybody had a cheerier atmosphere just because of the conditions, the weather conditions, you know, a work together sort of environment. And after that, we went out to Alki, bought pizza for everybody. Everybody had dinner. Same sort of thing. We had to scrape the snow. We had to route traffic. Alki is a very busy street. Made that repair. Went home after, I know we'd probably been here 16 hours. And went straight to bed. About 7 o'clock, I think, the next morning, maybe 6:30 the next morning, got a call from the duty supervisor, and more snow had fallen. I mean, like a lot of snow. You know, I got up, when I heard the phone ring, got up, looked out the window first thing, and there was just, I mean, so much snow you just wouldn't believe it. You know, she asked me to come in to help respond. You know, at this time, we didn't really have any leaks. You know, it was just a sort of thing where she wanted me to come in and be able to have another truck to respond to something if it did happen, just because it takes so long to get anywhere. So I came in, you know, through all the snow. I had to go really slow on the freeway. I had to put chains back on the truck, you know, because it was, once you get to the freeway, the roads were pretty clear. But any of the side streets off of it, you needed chains. And I only had a two-wheel drive truck, so I had to put chains on to get to the freeway, and I had to take my chains off, you know, once I was on the freeway, and then once I got here, I chained up again. So, which is a lot of work. If you've ever put on those big, fat, ugly chains in the snow, it was not fun. So, got here, was here about an hour, and then we had a main break in Magnolia. And so the emergency crew responded to it, got it shut down. I responded to it to see what we could do as far as fixing it. You know, we needed to pull a crew in, and that was probably one of the scariest drives of my life, just because the snow was up to the grill of my truck. I mean, I was pushing it with my bumper. So, and I couldn't figure out a way to get in, and with the two-wheel drive truck, I had to go in ruts. And it was just crazy. I mean, I remember calling Carrie on the phone and going, I need a partner, because you need somebody to dig you out. You know, I couldn't, other cars were stuck, and I couldn't plow through the snow to get around them, and it was just crazy. I finally got up there. I went up this hill that I don't know how I made it up. I just floored my truck. I mean, I had people clapping when I made it to the top, because I was just, you know, my tires were just spinning. And anyhow, once I got to that leak, it was, I just got to it, and Carrie called me. There was a pressure drop in the north end, and they wanted me to respond. They didn't know where in the north end. The alarms were going off in our water supply, and the radio room was watching TV, and somebody thought of, I think it was Ted up in supply, that they saw the roof of Kmart caved in, and he thought maybe they had broken their service, and that maybe that was causing the pressure drop. So I headed that way. Fire wanted us to respond anyhow, I guess because they had a broken pipe. Finally got there, you know, probably 45 minutes later. It took a long time to get anywhere. And fire was there, water was just pouring out of the building. I mean, a lot of water. And there's snow all over the ground, so it's like, I didn't know where to start for their service. It's like, God, where do I find it? And they were trying to find the location of it, and I was driving around, and I got so lucky. I drove around to the back, and I saw some standpipes, and I took my metal wand, and without exaggerating, I swear it was covered by snow about this deep. I mean, I had to shovel it off, and it was deep. I pulled off the top, one of those big rings, pulled off the top and shut it down, and the pressure was just blowing. It was an 8-inch fire service, completely severed. I mean, the water, the force going through there, I mean, I could barely get it down. It was so tight, you know, so got that shut down. And I mean, the day just was chaotic from there. I mean, it was like, at that point, it was like we started calling in more people. And Carrie knows this part a lot better than myself. I mean, she was the one that, you know, started pulling in people, pulling in teams to work together, people that lived close to each other where people could offer rides. You know, we went and picked people up, you know, because it was so hard to get around. I mean, it was just, that day was just an incredible day. The main break, we didn't even fix that main break until like 6 o'clock that night, which is just completely unusual. Usually a main break like that, we had the water off, you know, we'd respond right away. We'd try to get there within, you know, a couple hours. And basically that day, from what I remember, we had that main break. We had another service that broke in Ballard, but a lot of our response was to the roofs that were collapsing and the broken services. We also called in equipment personnel to help out with engineering street use, and they were clearing like Aurora. Aurora, in the afternoon, the temperature rose and it started raining, and so the snow started turning to rain, and it was just a mess. I mean, there was like rivers running down the roads, and so we probably brought in truck drivers, and I know 2 operators, I believe, went out and helped them, you know, clear the roads and just try to get the roads so they were drivable. Drains were clogged, backing up. I think sewers were backing up, and everything. It was just crazy. So I ended up Sunday night. I worked until, I think it was about 11 o'clock, 11:30. I came back to the shop, and they wanted me to stay overnight, so I slept overnight here. Another crew relieved me, a crew chief relieved me, and they were out. I think Perkins Lane had one of the first slides that night, that Sunday night, and we had to respond out there and shut off a temporary line, maybe a couple services. I missed out on that because I was sleeping, but yeah, it was just crazy. It was just an incredible experience. I mean, it's just busy, busy, busy. And that day, that Sunday, I mean, getting anywhere, unless you go through it, you just can't imagine how hard it was to get anywhere. I mean, it was just, and people were stuck everywhere. You know, everywhere you went, there was cars stuck. And it was just amazing. Okay. Well, sorry, that's all I remember.
Excuse me, if people wouldn't, we're pretty much through entering the information. Again, thank you for your patience. It sometimes takes a little while longer than you expect. If people wouldn't mind coming back to their tables, we're able to find a couple more sodas and some fruit over there, so grab what you need and come on back to your tables. Thank you.
Okay, here we go, last round. Well, we were a little better with wording this time, but we'll see. We. So we're going to do the same things we did before. We've got 20, and we'll go through them one by one, take the top 10, then do the top priority and second priority from the top 10. So the first one is honesty and integrity. And the answer is, very important is 6, not important is 1. I think almost every table had this one. Some combination. Then there's a discussion of, is honesty and integrity the same thing? And we can talk about that. Okay. Then the next one is sensitivity to cultural diversity. Next one, a balance between personal convictions and political pressures. Convictions here means, beliefs, not conviction. Okay. Next one is being a good communicator, both internally and externally, to the department and to the community. Being a good communicator. Okay. Good manager. Okay. Next one, respects and values all contributions.